The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Talking about MTSU with John Vile, Amy Saywar, and Nancy Prescott. And Amy, tell us a little bit about what you do at MTSU and what's happening.
We have been working on celebrating the Semiquincentennial since the year started, and our newest thing is a new exhibit with Canonsburg.
And then, John, I guess tell us a little bit about what's going on with your department and what you're involved in.
Well, I'm Dean of the Honors College, and Dr. Saywar is part of our American Democracy Project, and Nancy helps us with our event coordination. So summers are not quite as busy as other things in terms of teaching, but given the Semiquin, we've had lots and lots of activities.
I bet. There's a lot happening with that all around the state and right here in Murfreesboro.
Well, interestingly, I think not all colleges have gotten on board quite the way we have, and again, in large part because we have this American Democracy Project, so we're really trying to push it.
You know, I never really thought about it, but I haven't heard a lot from some of the other colleges as far as what they're doing.
Well, it helps to have a spark plug, and Dr. Saywar and Nancy has helped as well with that.
Again, Nancy Prescott as well. So, Nancy, tell us about your involvement.
Sure. So when I was in graduate school, I was the graduate research assistant for the American Democracy Project. So when this Canonsburg exhibit came up, I was really excited to hop on board and become a part of that. 250 years of commemorations of the Declaration of Independence. So it's a great way to celebrate.
And Amy, I know you've done a lot of research on all of this because we've heard from you before. So talk a little bit more about what some of that research has uncovered.
It's interesting to me that we are still finding and discussing new things about 250 years ago, that it takes us a while to think about different things. One of the things, if you are a stamp collector, the newest set of stamps that came out to celebrate the Declaration of Independence includes a lot of different people that you might not have heard. So John Adams is certainly there, Thomas Jefferson is there, but Deborah Sampson is there. Most folks don't know about Deborah Sampson, who was the first woman to receive a military pension for her service in the American Revolution. Black patriots are there. The Daughters of the American Revolution are sponsoring a exhibit over at Lineball Library that looks at a lot of these sort of new patriot stories that we might be less familiar with. So you might think, gee, I know all the stories about the Declaration of Independence, but there's some new ones circulating that I think people should think about and search out during this Semiquincentennial.
And I guess during that revolutionary period, Tennessee was not Tennessee. It was part of North Carolina.
Well, and we enthusiastically joined North Carolina because Tennesseans were living on a lease from the Cherokee Nation that was getting ready to expire. And so they were very happy to jump onto the revolution, join revolutionary North Carolina, and even cross the mountains and fight at the Battle of Kings Mountain.
And you had a lot of Native Americans who were jumping on board with the British and fighting those who were trying to settle in America.
They were good allies, right? They had treaties standing with the British. One of the battles that sometimes we forget that our folks over at Sycamore Shoals are getting ready to celebrate or commemorate July 1776. We celebrate the Declaration of Independence. It's also the siege of Fort Watauga, where East Tennessee settlers were fighting off a coordinated attack by Cherokee warriors.
It's hard for me, so I'm sure it's hard for everybody out there to fully understand and grasp all the battles that took place right here. I mean, in America, because we don't see that today at all.
And it's funny, the Postal Service, when they put together their stamps, they sort of skipped the war in the South. You don't see the Battle of Cowpens. You don't see the Battle of Kings Mountain. You don't see the Battle of Black Mingo Creek. All of Francis Marion's engagements, which were not Continental Army, much more irregular warfare. So the battles looked a little different here in the South.
Why did they skip those battles? I mean, is there a reason behind it?
I think, so you get into a lot of different things, but we love George Washington, and for good reasons, right? he wasn't engaged in most of those battles, right? Nathaniel Greene gets sent down. He does a pretty good job. We hear here in the South about Francis Marion, but you hear less about the Southern commanders. You hear less generally about militia commanders in the Civil War, but they did most of the fighting and a lot of the dying in the American Revolution. But we prefer sort of the fancy generals and the set piece battles with clear outcomes, which we had a lot fewer of in the American South.
Postal Service, movie productions, they focus more on what turns into the Hollywood glamour, I guess. The more prestigious persons out there, they focus on Virginia. I understand to some degree, but to another degree, it looks like there were a lot more battles in the South that are really large that should be talked about.
Yeah, certainly. I ran across, was at a car show, oddly enough, in East Tennessee. South Carolina has put out a license plate and says where independence was won. So they're really pushing and talking about things like the Battle of Kings Mountain as being key to the ultimate victory in the American Revolution.
Would that be a true statement on their plates?
You could make that argument. Historians like to make arguments, and you could make that argument.
Interesting. What are other states doing?
Oh, well, Philadelphia is doing a lot. Dean Weil has visited Philadelphia.
I haven't. The big surprise for me, one of the things that we have in this exhibit, is how in the bicentennial, some people called it the BUY centennial. And I went to Philadelphia thinking I was going to bring back, cartloads of stuff. There wasn't that much commemorating, although I've since seen quite a bit more on television advertising, including moon pies, by the way.
Here, I've gotten flyers, I've gotten stickers, we've gotten these little buttons that you wear, just all kinds of stuff. But when I think about it, I haven't heard, just like the colleges, I haven't heard about things being printed, things being made, in other states. And usually the news talks about everything that's happening.
There was a lot in D.C. yesterday.
Well,
it was
D.C. kind of stands on its own.
And what's fascinating, that one of the things we found is during the Semiquincentennial, 1926, there was what was called the Fight of the Century. And it was one of the few things at the Philadelphia Exposition that succeeded in bringing a lot of people in from the outside.
Yeah. During all the research, did you also research, the other countries that were involved in America, like Haiti and things like that? Because I know it played a role later in the Revolution or towards the end of the Revolution. So there is a lot of interesting side stories there.
Probably France has gotten as much attention. Lafayette, of course, comes to the United States right before the 50th anniversary of the Revolution and meets all the living presidents then, whatever.
That's a key reason to go to France right there.
Yes, good excuse.
Well, in leading into the 4th of July at Cannonsburgh, we're also using that space in the exhibit for a Lunch and Learn series at Cannonsburgh. So if you want to come and hear more about the impact of the U.S. Revolution on Haiti, for example, that's Wednesday, July 1st. Angela Tips on July 3rd will be talking about the music of liberty. Rob McDaniel from Political Science will be talking about abolition before and after the Revolution. And Lynn Nelson, coming back to your key point, will be talking about what the American Revolution meant to Tennesseans on June 30th. So folks are welcome to bring their lunch. Come on lunch hour to the former JC's cabin at Cannonsburgh, where our exhibit is. And Nancy did a great job of setting out all of those key themes in the exhibit.
Thank you.
Well, there's only one entrance, right?
No, both entrances will be open.
Okay.
So we have decorations on the front porch and at the back. So,
no, but I mean into Cannonsburgh.
So the road is still closed, but you can get there either direction.
Park, I guess, where that farmer's market used to be, kind of to the left of Cannonsburgh, is that the big gravel park? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And that all at Cannon. What time again does it start tomorrow?
Dean Weil will be talking at 10. We'll have the doors open at 9. You can also catch it at noon or 2. Mary Beth Neville's Cannonsburg is also willing to show the exhibit on a reservation basis if you want to call ahead of time.
So a lot happening, a lot's gone into this for sure, and you can really learn a lot about America, its formation, its start really, at events like this at Cannonsburg. Thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Again with us today, John Weil, Amy Saywar, and Nancy Prescott, all talking about America and 250 years. So we can celebrate that and start again at Cannonsburg. You're tuned to WGNS.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Holden Hardware now has an e-commerce site. Go to doitbest.com/Holden-hardware and shop all the items in our warehouse. You can have them shipped directly to you, or most items can be shipped for free to Holden Hardware for pickup. Shop with us in person or go online to doitbest.com/Holden-hardware.
One more time.
doitbest.com/Holden-hardware.